Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Sports Outlet Show. As always, I am your host, Joe Wagner, and alongside me today that helped me with the College Super Summer Series is Brent Allegra, Braden Wilkins, and get this, Christian Naylor. Dude, what's up, man?
How's it going? How's it hanging around?
Chris, you want to tell everybody about what happened to your internet?
It's down tremendous. Someone accidentally cut the lines this week. I pay $700 for them to have work to perfection, but obviously they can't get the job done.
Would you say this is a possibly a hate crime from somebody that hopped on your bus at Appalachian State?
Yeah, the kids at Boone weren't really too happy after this weekend, so retaliation is not out of the question right now.
Yeah, Chris, when we last did our College Summer Super Series, Brent said that JMU was going to go 0-12.
Yeah, Brent, how's that going for you, man?
No, I didn't.
How about you take the L's right now, Brent, that you're taking, and you just go turn around and you just accept them? We're 3-0.
What L's am I taking?
I don't know, but we're 3-0.
Aren't you 4-0?
No, 3. About to be 4-0.
We only had 3, right? Y'all have had a bye?
Yeah, we had a bye week.
Oh, that's right. I was about to say, how is Tech played 4? Never mind, I forgot. You were down here for that. I'm dumb.
Yeah. It's all good. We'll be 4-0 after this weekend.
Well, we're not here to talk college football anymore, boys. As I'm sure you can see in the title, S.O.S. number 3.12, only 2 remain. And I'm not talking about episodes in the season because this is the last episode of the season. I had some talks with our little internal group here. This is the last episode of season 3. So you got an extra special with 3.11. You're getting a double extra special Sunday on a Wednesday here for S.O.S. number 3.12. But there are 2 teams that remain, and we're going to go down. We're going to hit the line. We're going to find one of them really quick, and then we'll find a second team that's a little less deserving in the NFC. But let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to kick us off with an absolute starstruck team, the Buffalo Bills, playing week 4 at Baltimore. So, guys, what I did ask for you to do here is give the current record, team MVP, biggest concern for this team, and then their week 4 matchup, which will all be on the screen for you guys. And you can give your is this team going to make the playoff vibes if you want to. But we're just going to hit these quick. We're doing 2-minute drills on each team. Don't want to keep everybody too long. I know it's almost midterm season. So, first off here, I got the Buffalo Bills team MVP. Guys, it's Josh Allen. Like, come on. Like, you can look through this roster from head to toe, from any metaphor you want to insert into that statement. Josh Allen's the best player on this team. He has over 1,000 passing yards in his first 3 games already. He's first in the NFL. He has 9 touchdowns throwing. He's second in the NFL, and his QBR is at 77.7. He's third in the NFL. Now, obviously, there was a bit of a bugaboo this week. They had the loss, unfortunately, to the Miami Dolphins. However, this was not a starting Buffalo Bills team. The Buffalo Bills had 5 defensive starters out on defense, but that's also my biggest concern is the lack of depth in the secondary behind, honestly, Jordan Poyer is very, very small. It's not great for the Buffalo Bills defense. That's my 2-minute take. If one of you want to take another 10 seconds, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the Bills they're the best team in the NFL. I don't care what the record shows. They probably should have won last week, but had that the famous butt punt, which was honestly pretty funny.
That was hilarious.
honestly, if the Dolphins didn't do that, they probably would have gotten better field position. So I don't know. But that was really funny. They really controlled the time of possession too in that game. I don't know if you guys saw that. So they could have very easily won the game. But they didn't. It's just how the tables turned.
No, when these 2 teams meet back up, it's going to be an onslaught.
Yeah.
Brett, since you just took that, you might as well take your first team.
Yeah, transitioning right in here to the Miami Dolphins. You can see it on your screen there, 3-0. They are one of 2 teams to be 3-0. It's a bit of a shock, honestly. I did not expect them to be here. I'm sure a lot of these guys didn't expect them to be here. But the team MVP so far, and I apologize in advance, it's quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. This guy has really impressed me to start the season. There's a case to be made about Jalen Waddle and or Tyreek Hill being in this spot, but we have to be impressed with what Tua has been able to do so far this season. He has had 925 passing yards, which is second in the NFL, 8 touchdowns, tied for third with Patrick Mahomes, and get this, has the most 40-plus yard completions in the NFL. And no, these are not all dinks and dunks to his speedy wide receivers. So Tua has very, very impressed me, and I was wrong about him going into this season, and I'm willing to admit that.
I think it's a little too early for me.
That's fine. I personally think I've seen enough now where I feel like Tua is legit. I think he can get it done this year, and I think they'll definitely make the playoffs. Obviously, starting off 3-0, that gives them a really hot start. I know the AFC's tough, but I think they're one of the best teams.
It seems someone disagrees with you about Tua being legit.
I mean, that's fine, but you see it with Josh Allen. He got Stephon Diggs, immediately becomes elite. These guys, they get elite wide receivers and they become elite. Joe Burrow getting Jamar Chase last year. Sometimes it's just how it is. Tua got Tyreek. Tua got Tyreek. He might become elite. We don't know yet, but he's definitely on his way there.
Like Joe said, it's early, but we were talking about it all offseason that Tua has the weapons now. He has no excuses, and he hasn't needed excuses so far. He's proved that he can throw the ball well and he can hit Tyreek Hill, which is what he was paid to do. That's all they care about right now.
Yeah. The biggest concern, and I really don't know if this is much of a concern, is the running game. Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, they have both not been able to eclipse 100 yards throughout 3 weeks. That's total, not per game. They haven't been able to eclipse 100 yards in total. Granted, the Dolphins seem to be very pass heavy, which is shocking considering Mike McDaniel comes from the Kyle Shanahan coaching scheme, but it's working for them, and they just beat the best team in the NFL. So we have to give them some credit. In week 4, the Dolphins are going up against the desperate 1-2 Bengals team who has only been able to beat the Jets thus far. All signs point to the Dolphins in this one, but for whatever reason, I want to pick the Bengals so bad.
I do too.
I think I will.
I do too.
It might be those white helmets. But
those things are going to be ferocious.
I know. I'm excited for tomorrow night.
Those things are going to be so tough. Really quick, Brent, before we kick it to Braden, what do you think about Amazon Prime Video having Thursday Night Football?
I think it's fine. Obviously, I don't have the best internet connection here, being in Middletown, Virginia. Joe knows what I'm talking about, but Middletown, they're not great with the Wi-Fi. So it's tough to stream, but I don't know. It's been all right. It's been all right.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Braden, you have a bit of a opposite flip side of team here from the 3-0, a team that's 1-2, and I'm going to let you talk about the elephant in the room.
New England Patriots. We can jump straight to the biggest concern for this team right now, Mac Jones. He's expected to miss several weeks with a severe high ankle sprain. We saw him in a lot of pain. He was hobbling off the side of the field. It doesn't look like he's going to be back anytime soon. Right now, Brian Hoyer's number 2 on the depth chart, expected to make the start. He's got some experience. He's been in the league for a while. And then we have Bailey Zappe, the 4th-round pick out of Western Kentucky, up behind should anything happen to him. So quarterback play is the biggest concern at the moment. But other than that, even with Mac Jones in the game, they haven't looked amazing. Their team MVP for me is Dietrich Wise, the defensive end. He's 3rd on the team with 14 tackles, and he leads the team with 4 sacks and a forced fumble. He's looked very good. We've seen flashes from guys like Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, and the running back duo, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. They're very explosive. But Dietrich Wise is going to be my MVP for the moment. Next week, they're going up against the 2-1 Packers. The Patriots, I'm very concerned about the Patriots at the moment, especially without their starting quarterback. They didn't look good with him. I don't know how good they're going to look without him. So future is not too bright for the Patriots, at least in my opinion.
I'm not a huge Mac Jones fan. People have known that. And I said over like the next 2 years that Bailey Zappi was going to take his job. This is not what I meant, first of all, by it. And I know Brian Hoyer is next in line, which I think is, no offense, straight bull crap, but it's Bill Belichick. I'm never going to be able to kind of disagree with him there. I think Bailey Zappi, this is a great chance to throw a kid in and develop him. But again, could be wrong. And the Patriots have a tough matchup in Lambeau. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Still love people from the CUSA, unless your name's Grant Wells. No, I'm just kidding. Chris, you get to talk about a team whose starting quarterback hasn't even hit the field yet.
Oh my God. I love me the Jets. They've an abysmal year so far. I think we can all agree. Joe kind of not really stride. They're currently 1-2 right. The good thing for them is they're playing an awful this weekend, so maybe they'll become even at 2-2. We can only pray. Right now, their team MVP is going to be Garrett Wilson. 2 touchdowns, 18 receptions, 14. I think he's been kind of the highlight of that team, and I would say he's one of the only reasons why they're 1-2 is that contribution to him. But my biggest concern is obviously back issues. I mean, you have Zach Wilson returning, who is likely going to play this weekend, but how is he going to return to kind of what we saw where he really very well. So it'll be interesting to see how it transitions out, because obviously Joe Flacco is for the West. Zach Wilson may not be much better. So if he comes back, healthy, and then Jets will have a very successful rest. But right now, I think a major issue is figuring out with the quarterbacks how they're going to play that out. So it's going to be interesting to see. And the MetLife turf is probably the worst field in football other than Soldier Field. It's going to be interesting to see how the two for the Jets as their home game to play to MetLife.
Yeah, there's a case to be made that Joe Flacco could actually be better for this team to win games than Zach Wilson. We haven't seen him this year yet. Hopefully he does take a leap in once he comes back in year 2. But Joe Flacco was top 5 in passing yardage. So he actually had some decent games in there. He was getting a lot out of his wide receivers. We already mentioned Garrett Wilson. I hope Zach Wilson can keep these Jets receivers afloat, especially for fantasy.
Did you know that he's Zach Wilson?
Obviously.
Chris, go ahead.
I said, I agree with you. Like I said, I think Zach Wilson is their best chance of having, the positive light at the end of the tunnel. But if he doesn't perform to what they think he's going to perform to, then the Jets are going to have another rough season.
Right.
Did you guys know that Zach Wilson's cleared to start on Sunday?
Yep.
Yeah. I expect him to start on Sunday as well.
I don't know why.
We'll see how that goes. Like I said, the Steelers are looking pretty abysmal at quarterback, so it'll be interesting to see how that game's played out and target.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm interested to see if Garrett Wilson's also his target share continues to stay up, but because
I think it might straighten out a little bit more with Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is a phenomenal player. He wasn't getting targeted enough, and I think that those lines will even out a little bit.
Nice. All right, well, that's the AFC East for you, gentlemen. We'll quickly run into the AFC North, starting here with the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, a dreadful 1-2. Just had one of those starts to the season. Like, it seems like everything's fine, but everything is not fine at the same time. Obviously, the loss to the Jets is the big one that we're talking about, the Bengals. Obviously, they should have won week 1 against the Steelers. Evan McMoney didn't show up to play. Neither did any kicker for that retrospect. But you're sitting here at 1-2. You got a huge chance tomorrow night to knock off one of the last 2 undefeated teams in the NFL. A team that is lights out on offense is the Miami Dolphins. A team that is more conservative but can be lights out on offense is the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we're 3 weeks into the season. The answer for MVP should be Joe Burrow, but it is not. My MVP for this team is not Joe Burrow, and it's not Jamar Chase, and it's not Joe Mixon. My MVP currently is wide receiver T. Higgins. T. Higgins has had an electric start. He's had 19 targets. He's caught 13 of them. He's had 191 yards, and he's punched one in the back of the end zone. T. Higgins, if you watch NFL Red Zone, has made big plays at big moments at big times. He's made some great catches. He's forming into that second hole where Jamar Chase the last 2 weeks has not done much. T. Higgins has stepped up to the plate, and even Tyler Boyd has stepped in and had the 4 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown last week. My biggest concern, the Cincinnati Bengals buffed up their O-line this offseason, yet Joe Burrow's been sacked 15 times in 3 games. This Burrow is getting obliterated night after night after night. You got to protect your quarterback that, in a sense, a few years ago is injury prone. So that's what I have for that. The week 4 matchup is Thursday Night Football against the Dolphins. I believe they win it. I believe this is a huge game for the Cincinnati Bengals. It almost feels like a pre-playoff game because if you fall to 1-3, you have a lot of work to do in the AFC North. So this is one you have to have.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned T. Higgins too, and he was knocked out for the majority of one game because of that concussion. I think that was week 2, if I remember that correctly. It was week 1 or week 2.
He had a bit of a bugaboo this week too.
Yeah, so that stat line is with him off the field for a lot of that. So I think it's very impressive. I think T. Higgins isn't that far off in talent from Jamar Chase. He just gets overshadowed by him tremendously.
I agree. Why don't you take us to Pittsburgh, Brent?
Yeah, the Pittsburgh Steelers, same as the Bengals, record of 1-2 with that one win coming against the Bengals in week 1. Their team MVP so far, if he was healthy, it would easily be TJ Watt, but I'm going to go with Minkah Fitzpatrick here. He has had 2 interceptions and a blocked kick, along with 24 tackles so far. Their biggest concern, there seem to be a lot of them right now for the Steelers, and I'm sorry, Steelers fans, but probably the biggest concern is that I personally think they're going to get last in the AFC North. They absolutely need to get TJ Watt back healthy, but he probably won't return until about week 8, which also happens to be a matchup with the Eagles. So that's a loss, in my opinion. And I don't think many people would argue with me on that. The offense has been atrocious. They need to find ways to get George Pickens more involved. We've all seen the flashes in preseason. He had a very strong case already for best catch of the year last week. That catch was tremendous. People were comparing it to OBJ, and rightfully so. I think it was an awesome catch. And the last little point I have here, no, I do not think bringing on Kenny Pickett is going to help them this season. If anything, after the Steelers start to lose some more, they can bring him on to help him develop for the future, but it's not going to lead to immediate success. They're going to be bad this season. Their week 4 matchup, it is against the Jets at home. So I kind of like their odds in that one. Even if Zach Wilson is able to get back on the field, they will most likely be improving to 2-2, I think.
I'm glad you brought all that up. There's a new feature on StreamYard. I want to see if it works. So hold on. Tell me if you all. Oh, this is dope. This is so cool.
I love it.
What happens if I full screen it? Oh, yes. So let's break this down here. Look at this catch. This absolute. Hold on. Let me hide this.
We need a better angle.
Chris's face. This is so cool, by the way. We're going to be doing a lot more. Dude, we could live stream a game together.
That's
Look,
ridiculous.
Look at the pretzel turn here.
He had his back fully bent back to catch that ball.
That is disgusting. And then look at the stare down. Absolutely ferocious.
I don't know why he's not getting more targets. It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know.
He needs to get more involved.
Can we take a moment to just see how cool that was? That we had all our faces on the left side with the game actually happening. We had a little Manning cast going on there.
We can do our own Manning cast.
Apparently, I'm in a bit of shell shock, so I'm gonna look up a few more things to pull up if it's relevant to the game. Braden, talk to me about a team that honestly, this team's 2-1. Tell me about this guy at Q because I know you've been talking about it. I see a little blurb here. I'm spying on your notes. I see a little blurb here. I want to know, can this man get this team to a starting position where Deshaun Watson can finish the job?
That's a really good question, Joe. Jacoby Brissett, I've been saying it forever. He's one of the best backups in the league. He's really, really talented, but he's done enough to get this team to 2-1. They beat the Steelers last week on Thursday night. Jacoby, his numbers aren't amazing, but they're not bad either. He hasn't had to do too much because my team MVP for them is Nick Chubb, who ran for 341 yards and 4 touchdowns. So those are both first in the NFL in terms of rushing. And then Kareem Hunt has been stellar as well. So I think that's the best running back tandem in the league, doing enough to get a solid backup through 2 games so far. And this week they're going up against the Falcons. So I think they could easily improve to 3-1. And if they can maintain a strong record, like stay positive over 500 by the time Deshaun Watson gets back, this team could be a playoff team. They're winning games that they should right now. It all depends on Jacoby. That is the biggest concern for this team. If Jacoby Brissett can keep providing enough, then he'll be okay. These Browns will be okay.
Yeah, the only concern I have right now, and we don't know a lot yet, is Myles Garrett. Car accident.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's. I mean, I know the injuries aren't life threatening, but I hope they're not bad enough where it's going to make him miss some playing time. He might miss this week.
I believe he will.
I just don't know the extent of the injuries, so hopefully they get him back on the field because they need him.
100%.
I think Jadeveon Clowney's out too, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. You're correct.
So they might have some problems on defense this week, but like you said, hopefully Jacoby, Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt can keep them afloat for this week against the Falcons.
They're playing Marcus Mariota. They're going to be okay. Chris, talk about a team that you need to have a defense to help you out, and it's not helping you out because this guy's scoring 4 touchdowns a game, quite literally.
The Ravens. God, the Ravens. They're like that team that you just really just don't understand sometimes of what they're doing, what is going on. The Ravens, they're 2-1. Obviously, their MVP is Lamar Jackson. I mean, he is, I would say, currently having a better year than his MVP right now. He's playing hot, and it's going to be a real challenge for when he plays one of those this coming weekend. But my biggest concern now is the Ravens' O-line protection and also their secondary. I mean, the Ravens are down their 4-string left tackle. Is that going to be an issue coming into this game, as well as they've had major secondary issues coming off ACL tears? So is that a factor going down the season? Are they going to be able to stay healthy for the remainder of the season? I mean, if we're already at the O-line, it's week 4. Like, are you going to be making it healthy? And that's, I think, the biggest question that we need to ask. And the biggest question that we're thinking about is, is the lack of healthy players going to impact this team more than an MVP quarterback, doing it all for the team? I mean, Lamar games by him, so I'm interested to see going forward, the Ravens do their diligence because obviously they're decent, but
yeah, I think Lamar's my MVP so far this season. He's just been absolutely incredible, carrying the team on his back to wins, and it's
for
awesome
sure.
to see.
100% in fantasy football too.
Yes.
Man has 100 points in fantasy football already.
Yeah. Carson has Lamar and Mark Andrews on his fantasy team, and he's just racking in double touchdowns every single week.
That was like me with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's disgusting. That's not
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
I think we should put a rule against that next year. Switching over to the best division in football, and I get the pleasure of talking about the team in first place. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-1 behind Dougie P, and Trevor Lawrence is balling out. Trevor Lawrence is a 6-1 touchdown ratio right now, but it's not my team MVP. It's the man that came back and, in my opinion, is going to win Comeback Player of the Year. That man's name, who won the number one job at running back, James Robinson, is having a season. Off of only 51 carries, he's been splitting time with ETN this whole season. He has 51 carries for 230 rushing yards. That's 9th in the NFL right now. And he has 3 rushing touchdowns, which is tied for 3rd in the NFL right now. James Robinson is having a beast of a year, and he was that diamond in the rough that every fantasy football person hopes they drafted. Now, ETN's been playing fine. He's been getting 8 to 10 points every single week. Like, you picked him in the 4th round. You're obviously a little upset, but at least you're not Cam Akers, all right? So he's doing fine. This double dynamic duo is playing phenomenally. They're, in my opinion, going to be top 5 in the NFL in scoring and yards per scrimmage by the end of this season. My biggest concern here is obviously we have a man that is racking up yards and points. Christian Kirk is playing great. To all avail, to my surprise, he's earning his paycheck, which was outrageous to start the season. He's earning that dough. Can Zay Jones and Marvin Jones Jr. continue to step up and help Trevor Lawrence take that next step? Zay Jones has had 24 targets. Marvin Jones Jr. has had 18. Like Braden and I were watching on the couch the other day, Zay Jones is targeted like every other play, I swear. His name comes up so much. A lot of drops. There has been a few surefire TDs they've scored. Can this, let me say, triple head threat for the AFC South of wide receivers, can they get it done? Can they win this division? My answer, abso-freaking-lutely they can. Now, this is for Braden really quickly, and I'll shift it over to the Texans. Not only are the Jacksonville Jaguars playing great, but the Eagles are walking into a trap game. It's WP, it's 2-1. It's at Lincoln Financial Field. This Eagles team is red hot. Devonta Smith is coming off one of his best games of his career. This has trap game written all freaking over it.
I completely
love to
agree.
hear that.
I completely agree.
Braden is terrified. I still believe the Eagles win this game, but it's going to be a lot closer than people expect.
Yeah, and I think they're 6.5-point favorites. So if you really believe that, bet the Jags plus 6.5.
I believe it. Trevor Lawrence he's taking that next step, but he's not there yet.
I'm personally a little scared of that game. The Eagles look incredible. I'll give Braden that. But the Jags have also looked incredible. And Joe made some very good points. James Robinson. I love James Robinson. It's a good year for the Jags. I hope they win this division.
Let's talk about the team that doesn't even have a win in the division, but they have a tie. Brent, let's go. It's only right that you talk about the Texans.
Texans, 0-2-1. Their team MVP, it may have not shown up fully on the stat line yet, but Dameon Pierce is the brightest spot for this Houston Texans team so far. They finally unleashed him last week against the Bears after splitting the majority of the work with Rex Burkhead the first 2 weeks. He ended up notching 80 rushing yards and 21 receiving yards and was clearly the focal point of the offense last week. There was a drive against the Bears where they started on the Bears 41. First play of the drive, 24-yard run by Dameon Pierce. Second play of the drive, 9-yard run by Dameon Pierce. Third play, 7-yard run by Dameon Pierce. Fourth play, 1-yard touchdown run by, you guessed it, Dameon Pierce. This kid can play, and I cannot wait to see what he does the rest of the season. The biggest concern, the run defense. In week 1, Jonathan Taylor put up 160 rushing yards. In week 2, the Broncos combined for 150 rushing yards. And last week, the Bears combined for 281 rushing yards against them with Khalil Herbert leading the charge for 157 of those on 20 carries. And Joe's showing the highlights. I love it. But that's a big yikes for the Texans' run defense. This week, they play the Chargers, who are coming off a somewhat embarrassing loss to the Jaguars. I see the Chargers easily coming away with a victory in this one.
That was a nice cut.
He's looked really good. If you can, I saw it on Twitter. That drive was incredible. He put the team on his back and got into the end zone. It was awesome.
Literally called Dameon Pierce all runs and catches in week 3. I love that that's a video.
Where are we at? We're in the first quarter still. So I think it's in the second quarter where they start on the 41.
Let me see if I can find it. There?
Right there. Yep, right there. Watch. That's the first play. This is the first play. And then you'll see the second. This is all him, back to back to back to back.
He loves his spin move.
And here he almost gets in the end zone, but doesn't quite make it.
Oh.
And then he gets the touchdown. Huh?
Was this off a turnover?
I would assume so since they started on the 41, but that was the whole drive. 4 plays, 4 rushes to Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce scores the touchdown.
That's awesome. That's nuts.
Yeah, I was excited to see that.
Braden, talk to me about another running back that's pretty good at football.
Yeah, moving on to the Titans. They're 1-2, as you can see. I can't say I'm surprised that they're 1-2, but they have been pretty disappointing thus far. They were able to beat the Raiders last week after getting obliterated by the Bills. So far, my team MVP for them has been safety Kevin Byard. It was hard to pick an MVP for this team because a lot of guys have been inconsistent. But Kevin Byard has 23 tackles and a pick on the year. Pretty solid. You can't be mad about that. The biggest concern for this team, like I said, is inconsistency. Offensively, defensively. Obviously, most people are going to look at the offense. Tannehill got benched against the Bills, which was the Bills. They were getting absolutely destroyed. And Henry hasn't been producing, except for last week. Tannehill was okay last week. He did throw another pick. And Derrick Henry had 140 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. So maybe things are starting to look up for them. Maybe they're starting to figure it out. But they've been very inconsistent thus far. They're going up against the Colts, who are 1-1-1. That's another inconsistent team that they've been looking at. Obviously, 1-1-1, that's the picture of inconsistency. The Colts just came off a win against the Chiefs. They're riding high. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I agree. They got work to do, especially at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, why don't you talk to me about the team that is 1-1-1?
All the talk about the team, man. The Colts. I don't understand what's going on in Indianapolis right now. I think they don't know what's going on in Indianapolis right now. They're just kind of there, if that's the best way to put it. They're kind of meh. Jonathan Taylor, hit the ground, left off 6 yards, 1 touchdown this year so far. I think that is their bright light on this team, but they have some major questions that they need to be answered as to quarterback. Matt Ryan, I think he's not, a good quarterback in the league this year. The Colts have had, issues at quarterback ever since Andrew Luck left, and so I think we're still dealing with a little bit of that. And on top of that, their O-line is currently against teams. They're taking a hit, and so I see 2 major concerns, and the issue is they're both on offense. So we need to start figuring out what is going on, because Jonathan will win games for teams. It's going to take every not a bad quarterback, but a top 10 quarterback and a not top 10 O-line. It's going to be a long season for them. 1-2 Titans. So hopefully keeps, do his best, loses, and I think, the be 2-1, but you never this year. They're just kind of there.
Just kind of meh. Couldn't have said it better myself. Let's go to a division that is not meh. Let's talk about one of the best divisions in football. First, we have the Los Angeles Chargers at the dreadful 1-2. They have Week 4 in Houston. They're obviously going to win that ball game. They're 1-2. My team MVP is actually safety Derwin James Jr. He's had a phenomenal start to the season. 24 tackles, 16 of them were solo. He's got a sack, a pass deflection. Still looking for that first interception of the season. I could see him getting it this week. It is Davis Mills. No offense. Biggest concern for me, Justin Herbert's healthiness with those ribs, that rib cartilage. He's a tough man, but it was obvious it was affecting him a little bit because they lost to the Jaguars by a lot. And secondly, it's the misuse of Austin Eckler this season for me, for the LA Chargers. The fact that my man has had 5 rushing yards last game against the Jacksonville Jaguars is preposterous. It's inhumane. It's ridiculous. It's illiterate. It's a lot of big words. That's what I got, boys.
Yeah, and coming off, I mean, you said it, Justin Herbert being as injured as he was, you would think Austin Eckler would be a lot more used, but he wasn't. My biggest concern for the Chargers is, one, Rashawn Slater's out for the year now.
Yep.
Torn pec. And Joey Bosa has a torn groin. He's getting surgery on it. He's going to be out for a long time. I don't know if the Chargers can make the playoffs anymore.
One of these years, the Chargers are going to be hyped up, and they're not going to let down their entire fan base. It'll happen eventually.
I know.
It seems like every year they're one of the premier teams, and they just don't live up to those expectations.
What's sad this year, though, is that I know, and I think everybody knows, that they would be good if these injuries didn't come.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that 2 of their best players are now out for pretty much the whole year. J.C. Jackson's been out. I don't know when he's coming back. It's rough if you're a Chargers fan right now.
It's not great. It's not great. You want to talk to me about a team that dominates the AFC West, Brent?
Yeah, absolutely. Going into this year, I didn't know if it was possible with Tyreek leaving, but the Chiefs look like they still have a pretty strong hold on this division. Their record, 2-1. They did lose to the Colts last week, which was a bit of a surprise, but I just think it was a down week. Y'all know the MVP. It's Patty Mahomes. Like I said, still just as good, even without Tyreek taking the tops off of defenses. He has still managed to throw for 8 touchdowns and be tied for 3rd in that category, even when throwing to very below average wide receivers. The biggest concern has been the special teams. Sky Moore was never a return man in college, but they're playing him as a returner. And it's obvious when he's back there that he has pretty much no idea what he's doing.
Not comfortable.
Yeah. Matt Amendola struggled horrendously last week, missing a field goal and extra point in place of the injured Harrison Butker. They immediately cut him after the game. Joey got the scissors.
I literally had this here just to talk about Matt Amendola, and I'm not kidding. These are always in our kitchen.
They immediately cut him after the game, and I assume they're hoping Butker comes back after suffering an ankle injury. I would assume he is. He's questionable.
They got Justin Reed.
That's true. Justin Reed would probably do a better job than Matt Amendola. But their week 4 matchup is probably the best matchup of this week. Sunday night against the Bucs. Tom Brady will have Mike Evans and hopefully Julio Jones back. So it should be a pretty even affair, in my opinion. Have your popcorn handy for this one. I think it's going to be good.
Or in my case, gumballs. Braden, I want you, when I pull up this team, I'm looking at your sheet right here where it says record, and I want you to explain why there's 4 exclamation points there.
Yeah, the Raiders are 0-3. I don't think anybody expected this, to be honest. The Raiders were supposed to be a good team coming in this year. The biggest concern, jumping straight to that, is closing out games. All 3 of the games that they lost, the Titans, the Cardinals, and the Chargers, were all within 6 points. All of them were 6 points or less, including the overtime win by the Cardinals. I don't know. Yeah, Joe's got it up right there. Devontae Adams has not been existent. He hasn't been around. Mac Hollins is the premier guy, apparently. My team MVP is Max Crosby, 23 tackles, 2 sacks. Max Crosby is the only guy on the team with a sack. He's the only one that hit the quarterback behind the line. He has 4 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflected, and 1 forced fumble. I also want to bring up Daniel Carlson, looking really good as always, 8 for 8 field goals and 4 for 4 on extra points.
We're going to talk about this fourth quarter choke.
Yep.
I'm just sitting here circling it.
They got to close out games.
The Raiders are statistically the worst team in the NFL. The only team at 0-3. They are the worst team in the NFL. If the NFL draft started today, they would be picking number 1. That's ridiculous.
It's dumb. It really is dumb. Next up, hold on. What happened to Derek Carr being MVP? Derek Carr is playing 20 times better than this freaking man. Talk to me about how horrible Russell Wilson is right now. Let this man cook.
I'd like to say at the beginning of the year that I believe that a Russell Wilson would fire. And I'd like to say I was definitely right. Thank you very much. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that I was right. Carson was wrong. Thank you. They're 2-1 right now, so they're not awful, but so sucks to suck, doesn't it? Obviously, MVP is Cortland, 91 yards, 19 for 28 on catches. So there's your bright spot on the team. But obviously, as you guys can probably read, my biggest concern is Russell. You brought in this major guy. You spent $285 million on this guy, and the punters. And you're, come on, man. What are we doing out here? Why are you paying all that money? Look at that. Let's cook, baby. It ain't doing too well, is it, Carson?
Those are so funny.
Yeah, you may be 2-1, but with the money you're spending on everyone, you should be 3-0.
My biggest concern
you're not doing good.
My biggest concern is Nathaniel Hackett. This man.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, he's awful. He's so bad.
He may suck, but the reason Russell's turn is, what is he doing? What is Russell Wilson done good? They call bad ideas to run, missed assignments. What are we doing?
There's been a fumbling concern as well. There's been a lot of issues with
you
the
might
running
as well
backs
go to the Texans
losing the
if you're going to
ball.
play that bad. Like, come on. What are we doing?
Did.
Yeah.
I think they will turn it around.
Look, I'm not talking about my team. Look, I am not talking about Washington. I know what Washington's doing. They're doing stuff bad. I don't care about that. Plain and simple is, if you're going to spend $85 million on a quarterback, that quarterback should be the best quarterback in the NFL.
This is my favorite thing ever. This is my favorite.
Exactly.
When Mandy goes like this 62 times. This is my favorite thing ever.
Maybe if you don't fumble, you won the game, but you fumbled. So I'm not paying a quarterback $285 million to fumble on the goal line. I'm paying him $285 million.
You're not paying him to go out for the kicker
and
to
lose.
Try to kick a what was it? 65 yards? That's ridiculous.
Yes.
He's not going to kick that.
Yeah. I'm not paying $200 for that, and the coach does not have trust in him. That's all.
Listen, McManus can
does not trust him to go win the game.
McManus can hit that in Mile High with a game not on the line, but you pay your quarterback this much and don't trust him to get a 4th and 5.
That's my problem.
Exactly. So what do you? That's my thing. At the beginning, I said Russell Wilson is not going to be the answer from day one, and I think we're already seeing that they are charging a lot of money on a quarterback that is currently not proving to what he's worth.
The Broncos are going to figure it out. They're going to make the playoffs. They have the talent all around on defense. Russell Wilson.
I'm still going to say that
Russell Wilson is usually a first half season guy and sucks in the second half. He flipped locations, so he's going to flip it the way he plays football.
No, I've staying true to my faith in saying Wilson missed the playoffs this year with the Broncos. He is going to be terrible football, and the Broncos are going to go see. Did they waste $285 million?
This man is dissing the Broncos like
That's all I gotta say.
Trevor Lawrence.
That's all I gotta say. I told you at the beginning of the year, I don't, you didn't want because you were gonna say they're gonna be the best team in football. Are they the best team in football? They suck.
I changed the segment. Did you guys see? I changed the segment. Chris, we've been waiting on one. You better have a dandy one for us.
Ooh, so Barry Bonds in his career received 1,870 intentional walks and 600 1,870 intentional walks.
I assume this has
that is roughly walking.
Keep going.
That is roughly walking 46 miles on just getting walks to first base.
You want to know why I like this stat? Because Aaron Judge got walked 4 times last night.
Exactly. So imagine Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame because of steroids. Whether he did them or not is outside the question. The real he should be in the Hall of Fame because if you're walking guys walking almost 50 miles, it was kind of good. So
yeah, in his record-breaking season, he could have not gone up to bat for the entire year, and he would still be leading the league in on-base percentage because they walked him that many times.
That's amazing.
Yes or no, he probably did use a few steroids, but I mean, the man was great at baseball, and I think he deserves to have his place in baseball history.
Amen. All right, let's kick it right over to the NFC. Thank you, Chris. That was really relevant to today. So if you were coming in for an extra credit assignment for something that was relative to class, you got an A+. So great job. Now let me talk about the Dallas Cowboys, who are 2-1. They have week 4 this week versus the Commanders, a team that is 2-0 without their starting quarterback in Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush has been lights out, actually. 514 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks in those 2 games. He's not my MVP, though. My MVP is not him, and it's not CeeDee Lamb. It's wide receiver Noah Brown. Noah Brown has been an absolute star for this team. 15 catches, 213 yards, and a touchdown on the tenure so far. He's filling in that gap of Michael Gallup currently not playing. And even when Michael Gallup comes back in once he's back from injury, Noah Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup, you're just shifting Gallup to Lamb's old role. You're shifting Lamb to Cooper's old role, and then you're finally putting Noah Brown into the Michael Gallup role. They'll be fine. My biggest concern here is Mike McCarthy is stubborn, stupid with thinking past talent is better than new talent. I'm going to say, I said it at the start of this year, I'm going to say it again. Tony Pollard should be the starting running back of this football team. On average, Tony Pollard is carrying 5.6 yards. He's scored a lot. He's faster, he's quicker, he's younger, and he's a great 3-down back, especially on 3rd down. He's phenomenal. Zeke has had 40 carries with a 4.4 average, which is respectable. Again, Zeke's not playing poorly. Tony Pollard is so quick, has so much explosiveness. At the very least, they're not taking 50-50, and they should be playing similar to the way Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon does, with Aaron Jones being Tony Pollard. I don't hate Zeke. Tony Pollard for the last 3 years has been consistently better. Zeke eats. You pay that man. He'll be a Cowboy forever. I can't. Carson, I agree behind Matt Rule. He's the worst head coach in the NFL.
I don't even know if it's his decision as much as it is Jerry Jones. I feel like Jerry Jones.
Jones is stupid.
I feel like Jerry Jones has a huge role in playing Zeke over Pollard. He loves Zeke.
Maybe that's why they'll never win a Super Bowl.
Probably so.
If Dak's not playing this week, is he? They said he might come back.
No, he's not playing this week.
Okay. If Cooper Rush leads this team to 3-4-0 and they bring Dak back, I know Dak Prescott is better than Cooper Rush, but at some point you got to talk about lying with the fly hand, the one on fire.
Yeah.
He plays consistently. He plays well. He's not better. But if Dak's not getting it done, why not give the kid a chance?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on the back of that incredible defense. I mean, they're
True.
killers.
Yeah, Micah Parsons is that guy. But enough about the Cowboys. Let's talk about one of the better teams. We got the New York Giants, Brent.
I love seeing that record. 2-1. I did not expect to be here. I really didn't. My team MVP, Brian DeBalls. He's got the balls. Brian Dable has brought something to this team which we haven't had since 2016, a winning record. Now, do I expect it to hold up? Probably not, but he has proved that he can make adjustments to win games, something Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, and Joe Judge were never able to do. Considering the dumpster fire Dave Gettleman has left this regime, it is impressive to me that they are able to compete on a weekly basis. What you got?
This is for you, buddy.
Saquon is back.
Keep talking. You're good.
Saquon is back, baby. He's not on my MVP list. He probably should be, but Saquon's fully back. He looks incredible. I hope he can stay healthy because this will be a phenomenal year for him. My other MVP is Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas has been the highest ranked tackle on PFF for each of the first 3 weeks of the season and has all-pro potential. Unfortunately, he is overshadowed by the struggles of the rest of the offensive line, but Andrew Thomas is elite. The biggest concern is their receiving options. Sterling Shepard going down on Monday night absolutely wrecked me. This man has sacrificed his quality of life to be on losing Giants teams year after year after year. The ultimate leader for this core has had 3 concussions and multiple serious leg injuries time and time again, and I would not be shocked if he hung up the cleats after this. I don't see him coming back, and it sucks because I love him.
Unfortunately, agree.
But anyway, there's obviously not much other help with how damn awful Kenny Golladay has played for us. Gettleman should be in a freaking prison with how much money he has given this man to physically come in and hurt our team. Additionally, Kadarius Toney has got to stay on the field. I am tired of seeing hamstring, ankle, knee, hip, quad, wrist, arm. Literally any body part you can think of, he has found a way to hurt it. It's so upsetting to me as a Giants fan to not have what are deemed as our best weapons on the field due to lack of talent or injury. So yeah, I am pretty pissed with what the Giants have at wide receiver, and that's all I'm going to say on that.
I don't think we need – yeah, go ahead.
In week 4, the Giants face off against the Bears at home. I think after coming off a loss that the Giants are going to take this one. I think they're really going to win this one, and Daniel Jones is going to improve on the promising game he had last week because he did play well. The stat line may not show it, but this man had one of the best games of his career, in my opinion, against Dallas. With how much he was pressured, it was ridiculous. One of his best throws, I don't know if y'all saw it, Richie James on the sideline in triple coverage.
What you're talking about.
Micah Parsons in his face on his back foot. That throw was awesome.
It was really good.
So yeah, that's all I got to say on the Giants.
Nice. Braden, take it.
The 3-0 Eagles. I did not expect to be here either, Brent. Honestly, I knew we were going to be improved, but we look really good, and it makes me very happy. My team MVP has got to be Jalen Hurts. 916 passing yards, which is 3rd in the league, 4 passing touchdowns, and only 1 pick that wasn't his fault. And then rushing, among quarterbacks, he has 167 yards, which is 2nd in the league, and 3 rushing touchdowns, which is 1st in the league among quarterbacks. My biggest concern for the team is staying healthy and not getting cocky. We've looked really good in all areas of the field. Rushing, we let up DeAndre Swift have that huge game in week 1. Other than that, we've looked really good. Don't overlook teams like the Jaguars that we're playing this week. This is, like Joe said, the definition of a trap game. We're going against Dougie P. I do think we win this game still, but we need to focus on every week, 1 week at a time. Because if we keep playing like this, we're going to be a really good team.
That's what winning teams do.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So yeah, that's what I'm concerned about right now, staying healthy.
All right. Let's finalize the NFC East. Chris, hit it.
We don't need to. We really don't need to talk about them right
All right.
now.
So for the NFC North,
It's been rough. The play on the field has not been good. The playoff, it's just they're 1-2. They should be 0-3. Honestly, they're playing a 2-1 Dallas. Probably gonna lose at Dallas. Just kind of rough for them. Their team MVP that with 24 tackles is kind of a beast. I was missing, Chase Young, still kind of hurt from that ACL injury. We knew all was very good, but I think he brought that team right now and brought a lot of that defense, especially the play on the field. So under my biggest concern, I just wrote nothing's working. They haven't figured out an identity, play with a new team name. They still don't have an identity. It's just bad. I mean, we saw the Lions game. Just didn't look good. Play the Eagles. It didn't look good. So I'm really hoping, I see something out of the 2-1 Dallas versus 2-1 Dallas. But if I'm gonna, it's probably gonna be gonna cry a little bit more. But it's okay. One day, I believe in the Commanders. But right now, I do not.
I think we'll keep that team short and sad and say nothing else.
Thank you.
We'll move on to a team that is the exact opposite of a 1-2 team, and that's the Detroit Lions. Because damn, does this team have energy, culture, talent? Let me reiterate talent. Wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 5 wide receiver in this league right now. This kid's a beast. He had 6 straight weeks at the end of 2021, maybe a fluke. Oh, hell no. Oh, heck no. 23 receptions, 253 yards, 3 TDs, and he was injured for an entire half of the game in there as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown is that guy. He is a beast. Love having him on one of my fantasy teams. Biggest concern, this team's still the Detroit Lions. They're finishing their pieces. They're building it up. This team's going to be, in the long run, has such a bright future. Their inability to finish these close matchups is what is killing them. They lost to the Eagles 35-38. They had a chance to win that game, even though they really shouldn't have. The Eagles let them back in. They couldn't finish. Jared Goff couldn't get it done. Again, Jared Goff this week could not get it done against the Minnesota Vikings, where they lost 24-28 after leading 24-14 going into the fourth quarter, giving up that touchdown with 48 seconds left. They're playing Seattle, must win if you want any shot at the playoffs. There's no reason the Seahawks should beat anybody this season. That team is bad, although they already beat somebody apparently. The Seahawks aren't great. The Lions need to go in there. It's at Ford Field. Put it frickin' to them. Win by 20. Go do it. Just go do it. That's all I got to say. Brent, I think I'm gonna leave while you talk about this team. No. I'm gonna cut off my camera.
All right. The Bears, they're 2-1 somehow. I don't know how. I honestly think they're probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. The team MVP, Roquan Smith, who has had 36 tackles, half a sack, an interception, and 3 tackles for loss so far. He is really the only sure thing the Bears have besides Eddie Jackson. Their biggest concern, Justin Fields. It's obvious. I get that he doesn't have a ton of help, but he is not even able to get the ball to Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet, who are his best weapons. I mean, they've been nothing for fantasy. They're Dumpsville in fantasy. You've already dropped them. They're off your team at this point. But he has not been able to eclipse 150 passing yards in a single game this season and already has 4 picks on the year. The Bears might be in the quarterback market once again this upcoming offseason. Week 4, they play the Giants at MetLife. I already gave my opinion on that game. I think the Giants win. And that's all I got to say.
Dude, they gotta pay Roquan. He's been
They
a
have
beast.
to. He's
been a
their only
beast.
good player.
Exactly. He's the only good player on the team. Like you said, other than Eddie Jackson. But
You already dumped Khalil Mack, which actually I think that made a lot of sense. He's a
Mhm.
veteran guy. The team's not in win now mode.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're right. Roquan Smith needs to be paid. He's young. He's elite.
he's been a beast.
Dude, I stopped listening when you said Darnell Mooney and drop because I had him on 3 teams. I don't want to talk anymore.
Carson made a good point. Their record is 2-1. I think I mentioned that, but it was probably just
Why in the world is that not there? My bad.
probably because they should be 1-2. They should be like
0-3.
0-3.
Even though I literally looked up all the records on the NFL today. Like I even knew what they already were, and I put it on there. I guess it didn't transfer, but they are 2-1. We don't care. Okay, we don't care. I'm gonna say that bluntly.
They're so bad.
They are bad this year, but they are my late grandmother's favorite team, so I have to respect and love them. So, Green Bay Packers, let's hit it.
2-1. Team MVP. It's been a little bit tough. I'm going with Aaron Jones. 217 yards and a touchdown on the ground, and then 9 receptions, 76 yards and a touchdown in the air. That backfield is really, really good. The biggest concern is putting points on the board. This team has 6 total touchdowns. That's it. They're averaging 16 points a game, which is 27th league-wide, but the defense is being stingy and only allowing 15, so that is why they're 2-1. Their Week 4 matchup is versus the Patriots, who are 1-2. The Mac Jones-less Patriots, as we talked about earlier. I think the Packers get the win here pretty handily.
That was a heck of a speed run if I've ever heard about the Green Bay Packers. Wow.
Romeo Doubs is a guy.
He is a guy.
Agreed.
He is good. All right. Minnesota Vikings, I guess.
Bad run because there's not really much to talk about. The 2-1. They're playing the Saints this weekend. Obviously, their MVP right now is Dalvin Cook, 203 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 43 attempts. I think he's tearing up their backfield right now. So he's doing pretty well for himself. My biggest concern right now, I don't really think it's more of a huge concern, but I feel like the wide receiver core should be better than we're a lot more out of them than what they're performing. Maybe that's just Kirk Cousins and just they're connected just yet. Not too concerned about it, but going into Week 4, it's something we should look at. Is what we thought could have been one of the best wide receivers in the NFL is not like a best wide receiver core in the NFL. Not that that's going to be like that forever, but just something to look out for. That as we go on throughout the season, are they going to step up in the game? Find the rhythm finally. But it'll be interesting to see.
They've definitely taken a fall since beating Green Bay in Week 1.
I'm saying, it's just the past 2 weeks I haven't seen good them, and that is right. Teams cannot win in prime time either. So
Kirk cannot play.
Another big.
Kirk cannot play in prime time.
It's so bad.
I've never seen a fall off. I've never seen a fall off as bad as Kirk Cousins in prime time. It's bad. It started as a joke. It started as a joke, but there's so much evidence behind it. It's ridiculous.
It's literally just a fact.
I don't think Kirk Cousins is the top 5 quarterback or top 10 quarterback is because he's losing primetime games. If you can win by a lot and primetime or trash games, but if you're losing in big primetime games, are you a good quarterback or are you falling under pressure?
There's a whole thing.
Correct.
There's a whole
did hit number 61.
There's a whole website on StatMuse dedicated to Kirk Cousins in primetime games.
See, that's what I got to
pick 3 picks, 2 picks, 1 pick. That's hilarious.
Yeah, prove me wrong, but that is what is holding back Kirk Cousins.
Aaron Judge just hit number 61. Hey, yo. That's
okay. It's going to happen eventually.
Okay.
He was cold as ice, so I'm glad it finally happened.
Time.
Speaking of a team that's cold as ice, Carolina Panther Blue, baby. We're 1-2. I knew we were going to beat Jameis Winston because he's trash. We own Jameis Winston, if you saw one of my tweets. Week 4, going up against the Cardinals. Let's talk a little bit here. I won't take up too much of your time because I don't want to bore you with this team. Defensive end Brian Burns has been our MVP. There's no doubt in my mind. He's been phenomenal. 12 tackles, 9 solo, 2 sacks, including 17 quarterback pressures, which is second in the NFL. Thank you, PFF, right behind Micah Parsons. So Brian Burns is playing phenomenal this season. My biggest concern, Matt Rule and Ben McAdoo. This is the worst coaching staff in the history of the NFL. I would rather have Matt Nagy on my team. I need to take a breath before I explode. We're scoring 20 points per game on average, and we have a 27% third down efficiency rate. That is horrible. That's like we're going 2 for 8 every single game. Quick comments. I don't understand why you guys don't get DJ Moore involved. I don't know either. Maybe because Baker's throwing the ball like 20 times a game and completing half of them. CMC is made of glass. Listen, if CMC walked up to go to take a piss, they would quite literally put him on the injury report. Every single Wednesday, Christian McCaffrey takes a rest day. Every single Wednesday since off-season started. Can we please relax? He is. I know Matt Rule said it's a quad injury. He is fine. All right. He is okay. He played an entire ball game. He's not missing it. If he misses it, I'm gonna be really sad because he is tied for 5th in the NFL for most rushing yards. So I don't know what the heck is going on here. I wish I could tell you. We always seem to beat the Cardinals too, so watch out for an upset alert there. That's all I got for the Panthers. Baker has been doing fine. We just need to get the right play calls in. That's what I got. Let's go to the team. Let's just go to the team that's going to win the division.
Yep, I got the Bucks. Their record 2-1. Team MVP, the whole defense. This unit is the best in the league as they held the Cowboys to 3 points, the Saints to 10 points, and the Packers to 14 points. When Tom Brady gets his weapons back, look out for the Bucks because an elite defense with a good offense is a scary combination. The biggest concern, Tom Brady's weapons. Their health statuses. Julio Jones has a torn PCL, which he is going to be playing through starting this week. I think this will definitely slow him down a tad. And Chris Godwin still is yet to practice while he's recovering from a hamstring injury. I wouldn't expect him back just yet for week 4, but I think maybe week 5 we can start expecting him back. And then Mike Evans, he's done his time after trying to fight Marshawn Lattimore, and he will be back out there against the Chiefs. The week 4 matchup, again, I touched on it a little bit. I could see this game going either way against the Chiefs. I'm going to give the edge to the Bucks with that killer defense. I know Carson mentioned earlier that he thinks the Chiefs might blow him out, but if Tom Brady can be somewhat decent, I think the Bucks can win this one.
I think it'll be close. It's going to be a good primetime game. Somebody talk to me about famous Jameis.
Jameis. They're 1-2. Jameis is once again turning into a turnover machine. He's thrown 5 picks already. He's fumbled the ball twice. He didn't lose those fumbles, but eventually those balls are going to bounce in the other direction, and those are going to go to the other team. He needs to hold on to the ball. He needs to throw it to his receivers. Speaking of his receivers, my MVP is the entire receiving core going out, making plays, and making Jameis look good. Michael Thomas has 3 touchdowns. Chris Olave is exploding onto the scene. Jarvis has 161 yards very quietly. And we also saw Marquez Callaway's one-handed touchdown in garbage time last week when Jameis threw it up into 3 Panthers and Marquez Callaway came down with it.
That catch was gross.
It was disgusting. They're going up against the Vikings in London on week 4. Give the edge to the Vikings here. I think their offense is going to start figuring it out. They might be without Dalvin Cook, but Alexander Madison can play. Give this game to the Vikings.
I like London games. They're fun.
Mhm.
Kyle Pitts scores TDs. Speaking of Kyle Pitts, Chris. Or maybe not. Might have just lost him. Chris. All right, until he gets back, I'll read you what he has up here. Falcons are 1-2. Team MVP, Cordero Patterson. He's been great. He has 302 yards. Are you back?
Kick him.
302 yards, 2 TDs. Biggest concern for him is Kyle Pitts and Marcus Mariota. I think we all know why Kyle Pitts and Marcus Mariota is Marcus Mariota. Chris, I think you're back if you want to finish up.
So, Kyle Pitts, Marcus Mariota, we can tell why both of them are our biggest concern. Kyle Pitts being Kyle Pitts, Marcus Mariota being a big matchup.
All right, next team, the Los Angeles Rams. Chris, it might be time, buddy. This team's 2-1 Monday Night Football against the 49ers at San Francisco. There you go. Team MVP, it's obvious. It's Cooper Kupp. 28 receptions, he leads the league. 280 yards, he's 6th in the league. 3 touchdowns, tied for 2nd. Kid's playing out of his mind. He's phenomenal. Although he did drop a TD last week. I will say that much. Turned 30.
That's hilarious. I love that.
30. Yeah, Braden did not believe in Cordero at all. So, yeah. Biggest concern, Stafford's elbow. That's just a little lingering issue there. And their negative 9-point differential despite being 2-1. That's just something to look out for. That's what I got. Brent, while you're talking, I have to do something. So, please.
I know what you're going to pull up.
Of course you know what I mean.
The 49ers have a record of 1-2. Their team MVP so far has been Nick Bosa, who has already gotten 4 sacks through 3 games. If he keeps at this pace, he will have 23 sacks by season end as Jimmy Garoppolo steps out of the end zone and picks it to the Broncos. Luckily, that was a safety and not a pick 6. Biggest concern, I think it's been not being able to unleash Debo. For whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan has not been able to come up with creative schemes to get him involved. Maybe this has to do with the loss of Mike McDaniel, but honestly, I think they'll get it turned around here soon. I believe Debo is one of the best buy low candidates in fantasy right now. In week 4, the 49ers play the Rams. Shanahan usually gets the better of McVay, but I don't think he will this time. I have the 49ers losing that one.
This is so funny.
Dan Orlovsky.
That is so funny.
Dude, Dan Orlovsky and Mark Sanchez were freed on the same day. They were freed.
They really were. Braden, Seahawks, hit me, baby.
1-2. Geno Smith is their team MVP. He was expected to play poorly. He's looked pretty decent. He's thrown for 717 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks with a 100.8 rating, which is number 7 among starting quarterbacks. He's above Justin Herbert and Aaron Rodgers in QBR. The biggest concern for them is defense and whatever's going on with the running game. This team's not good. They're not good. They're playing against the Lions. They're going to lose. This team's going to 1-3. They're going to have one of the best draft picks in the league next year.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, who was the team that beat them? I mean, that they beat. I'm done. I backed up the Broncos when Chris was slandering them, so I had to get my.
Don't ever back up the Broncos. Don't even back him.
I'm backing up a team that beat my team in 2015 in the Super Bowl. All right, it's called being realistic. Chris, bring us home with the Cardinals if your internet allows us.
All right, we'll go quick. Extra days. 1-2 right now. I think obviously they're not living up to expectations. MVP this year so far, I would say, is Bubba Baker. 27 tackles, 17 solo tackles. He's playing like a man on a mission. My biggest concern, the entire offensive staff, offensive players, just offensive anything, the offensive water people. The lack of production is, I think, very shocking. They're not playing like we all thought they were going to play, week 0, week before the season. So they're playing 2 Panthers. They realistically, on paper, should blow them out. But again,
Yeah, that's right. We don't listen to negativity around here, baby.
I want to mention Marquise Brown with his 28 targets the past 2 games.
We don't need to talk about Hollywood Brown.
My fantasy team.
There it is. Oh.
And Kyler needs to get off COD. I agree. All right. We do have a little time here because I know that Brent's put something marvelous together. Oh, my, he's still talking.
I also took a page out of the Broncos playbook and over.
Where'd he go? He disappeared into the night. Okay, we have Brent and I's best bets really fast. Honestly, I had a super surgical 6. I'm gonna post it on Twitter, just because I'll put it on Twitter. I do have one pick that is straight cash money. LA Rams money line plus 100 at San Francisco. I don't understand why they're underdogs in this game. I really don't, especially because San Francisco just lost 11-10 to the Let's Cook Russ. So full belief that the Rams will come out and obliterate this team. Brent, you want to hit me with your over-unders, and we can put your fearsome 4 as well on the Twitter page.
Yeah, I got some player props for you guys. I think these are really good values, especially right now. You can find them on Prize Picks. Jalen Waddle over 65.5 receiving yards. He's had 171 and 102 yards the last 2 weeks. That's ridiculous. He's gonna get that again. Chris Olave over 54.5. He put up 80 and 147 the last 2 weeks. And Jarvis and Michael Thomas might not be playing this week. So that's a smash as well.
Don't tell me that.
Michael Pittman over 60.5 receiving yards. He has eclipsed this mark in the last 3 games, and he's been out there. He's been out there. He's been impressive, and the Titans secondary is horrendous. Dameon Pierce, the last one. I already touched on him a little bit earlier, but over 59.5 rushing yards. The Chargers defense has become very injured with the losses of Joey Bosa and J.C. Jackson. I think he'll get over 59.5.
I agree with all of those.
I think they're smashes. They're really good values. I would put them in now because I think the lines might move.
I agree. All right. We are going to have to bid adieu, but I figured this is a nice way to go out. How deep did this go? Oh. All right. It wasn't a no-doubter. Oh, look at Mom and Dad.
Oh.
Look at Mom and Dad. That's adorable. That's adorable.
He's taking his time. I respect it.
He's trash.
There's 61. He's got one more. He still has one more. Always done his tie. And like Coach Anderson always said, what's a tie like, boys?
A loss.
Kissing your sister. That's all. That's all I got. You boys got anything to say before we log off? Chris, if you can.
Russell Wilson is trash.
All right, the Broncos slander. You know what? I hope Russ starts to cook. I want to. I love the Chris Carson.
Yeah, he'll start cooking in the offseason when they don't make the playoffs. So he'll be cooking. He'll be cooking that raw chicken with some NyQuil.
I'm gonna end this. Carson, I'm sure you have his number somewhere. If not, you have ours, and we'll give it to you. Thanks for coming out to the Sports Outlet Show. This is the end of season 3. I appreciate all y'all helping out, coming out, listening in the whole time. Hope you got a little in-depth analysis. I'm pumped for week 4. We got the white Bengal uniform coming out. That's going to be tough.
Absolutely.
I got a question for you guys.
Oh, please.
You think Bryce is watching this?
Absolutely not. 0% chance. Anyways, that's all I got, boys. Thanks for coming out to the Sports Outlet Show. We'll see you for season 4.
See ya.
A lot of new things coming and happening. Peace out here on Sports Outlet Show. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.